Hello and welcome to Quick Take TA here on Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is June 13th, 2024, and we are just going to be looking at Bitcoin today, so this will be a shorter video. Now, Bitcoin did come down and retest in and around this current move's low, coming in at $66,000. And this base of support that you see where all these wicks are coming in are right around this 66,856 high on a close to around that 67,300 area. Now you can see that in yesterday's price action, we did get a close below the wick highs here. So that does mean that the next actual swing high is in play. So here's what to look for. If Bitcoin begins to break down intraday below $66,000, then I would be looking to this wick high at minimum at 65.5. Now, if Bitcoin gets bought back up above this wick low and the lower second of the Bollinger Bands here at around 66,160, then, that would be still within this markdown range, and I wouldn't be looking too much lower than around the $65,000 region. But if we start to see 65.5 break down, the next area of interest is going to be the close open here on this next lower high down here before the higher low and trend reversal that is coming in at $64,000. Now, I do want you to be aware that if we start to see any closures below the lower second, that is expansion into support at $65,000 to $64,000. And if it begins to lose the April of 2021 monthly swing high on a closing basis at 65, and then loses the close open here of the last lower high before the trend shift, then, well, the next big area in play would be the October of 2021 monthly closing zone at 61,350 down to that higher low just prior to the trend break here at that 65.5. So this is coming in at 61,350 to around, this is going to be 60,800 or so on a close, and then the wick low coming in at 60,000 to 60,150 depending on your exchange. Bulls do not want to see closures below there because that would imply that price is going to head down and retest the March of 2021 monthly and quarterly here at around $58,800 to $59,000. And that is a quarterly closing and monthly closing zone. Drops that bottom side, and then we're looking right back to the lower low deviation on the daily. Now, this is not a lower low and not a quarterly or a monthly break on the higher term timeframes. It's only on the daily, so this is a deviation. But if Bitcoin begins to break down from that area, then we're looking to the close open there at around 58,265 to the actual wick low at around that 56,500. Anywhere below there, we're looking mid 55s, and then down to the September of 2021 weekly swing high here, where Bitcoin most recently found resistance initially back in February. That's coming in at 53, down to the close open structures from the prior market cycle there from October and December of 2021, where Bitcoin had previously found support earlier this year in February as well. So resistance, support, it flipped, wasn't tested on the way up. So, that would be the next big area to test. If we did see, the mid $50,000 area, 55 to this 56,500 wick low breakdown, then we would be looking to that area for at minimum a bounce and then come back to it later for some of the longer term time frame stuff. Now, all that being said, with some of the more extreme downside targets, Bitcoin still has to meet the criteria of breaking down below yesterday's wick low at 66. I'm sorry, not yesterday's, but Tuesday's wick low at 66K to then go test this wick high where the trend break occurred. The trend break was here on the 15th of May. That is the candle that broke the downtrend. So we had that higher low to trend break, and then only thing from there would be higher highs, and then hopefully higher lows than this guy, and that's what we have seen to this point. But we do have a daily downtrend forming, and it's not aggressive yet. It could turn aggressive though. Note that the lower third standard deviation on the daily Bollinger Bands is here at around that $65,000. So any closures below the lower second and third is going to be a very aggressive move in terms of volatility into that $64,000 high. And likely would be looking for more, even if it's just on a wick basis, down into the big monthly zone here So let's look at the daily in terms of momentum, and then we're going to check on the 12-hour today. And that's going to be it. We'll follow up with this stuff after Friday's closure. But 269 is the pivot for the daily. So if we did happen to see Bitcoin turn around and head to the upside, we would have to see Bitcoin recover the lower first. You can gauge the lower first on the daily being at 67,400. I need to see that 67, 200 to 300 area. And then, for the daily to start turning around 67,400 in the lower term timeframes to go and test up to the basis band around $69,000 by the prior market cycle high. Above there, then we can start targeting up around $70,000 again, just by this rejection from Wednesday's high. And if Bitcoin can close above there, I think it's a pretty quick trip above 70,000 to go test the upper second around 71, and then the rejections here just shy of $72,000, and then eventually the all-time high and higher to 73 850 to 75K, and then 75 to 78, 78 to 80, mid to low 80s from there. Now, the setup on the 12-hour is the one that is most interesting to me. So Bitcoin is currently not getting a volatility expansion of BBWP, but it is expanding the Bollinger Bands down. This is more of a range markdown look until we see it closing below the wick low here at $66,000. That's where things change. That would be back below the lower second and imply that we're going to get expansion down to 65, and then subsequently this high over here at that 64. So that's how the 12-hour kind of fits in. If we see 66 dropped, especially on a 12-hour close, I would look for this to come down to 64 to 65 at minimum. Now, because BBWP is not currently in an expansion phase, and this is RSI, so I might as well talk about RSI, but RSI is not showing any signs of turning around in the next, at minimum, it would need to start marking up, getting back above 66, 3 or so, and coming back into the range of support from that high that it's currently closed below, but and then get above the moving average here. But it is right around the bearish control zone. If it does settle low on the 12-hour, this would also be a regular bullish divergence as well. But it needs to hold here and then start moving up. Now, it is lining up for expansion to the downside right now if it continues to mark down, and especially close below that lower second standard deviation, but it's not currently confirmed. So Bitcoin still has a chance, and I'm going to show you what that chance is. That chance is that it can try to hold this area, even if it does wick down below 66K, maybe run 65 to 65.5 at that wick high down there, and then try for a bounce and then a low being set. If it can do that and turn the Stoke indicator back to the upside here on any closes, it actually has a chance, I think where it's trading now. So 66.7, no, not right this moment, but 66.732 is the pivot. So if we see the next 12-hour candle close above there, we need to see follow through then. That does mean that the next pivot number will update. And I mentioned this yesterday, but if you need an indicator to understand what the pivot is going to be or what it updates to when the next 12-hour candle closes, you can search for the BA reverse Stoke. Just come up here to indicators, type in reverse Stoke. And again, I apologize about my voice. I am starting to get better. But it's the reverse Stoke BA Pig or APIG BA Pig gift on panel. I don't really know how to say that gentleman's name, but you can find this. It's a free one, and it will have the pivot for you. And actually, the pivot's a little bit, pivot's the same actually as some of the overlays that I have on here. So as it stands right now, closures in the next 12-hour candle that can get above 66, 730, 66, 7 to 800 basically. We would see an initial cross of Stoke back up. Of course, no low being set. You can't trust it. So we would need to at least see the next 12-hour candle follow through with a fully confirmed cross to the upside. And then we start looking for the possibility of the 12-hour setting a low. That's only really going to happen if Bitcoin remains above the basis band, which is right now at this wick low at 66K. Anywhere below there, we're looking for expansion down 64 to 65 and possibly beyond, down to the next big area of interest. And I'd give it room if it did head down below 64K here. Maybe pit stops along the way at 63 and 62 in the lower term time frames. But ultimately, I would be looking for at least a wick to land at around this monthly at 61 350, and maybe even a test of this low at around that 60,800 61K. And then if we start to see that break down, well, we'll talk about it some more then on Friday, because that does imply some possible further downside. So that's going to be it for me today. You all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. With all of that being said, Landy out.